Oh, man. There we go. Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Terence Crawford, man, they tried to screw him, didn't they? But you know what? It's not over. I personally think the worst thing that could have happened for Terence Crawford is for him to beat Canelo. But my thing is, I think athletes sometimes face public humiliation. I think athletes can be targeted for stops, for a mix of psychology, bias, and power dynamics. Not because of, I'm always talking about the secret society, and I believe the secret society is in full effect. But sometimes it's just a psychological thing, bias, power. Why you see athletes getting screwed with. Kind of like what happened to Terence Crawford this past weekend. Now, when it comes to Bud, right? His situation, the most plausible explanations are routine law enforcement escalation, profile, visibility, and perhaps bias or overcaution by the officers. But we got to understand, this thing about Crawford driving recklessly and all this, he doesn't do drugs, doesn't smoke, doesn't drink. So for you to tell me he was driving recklessly, I think that's a pretty broad brush statement. But I find a hard time believing that. But, hey, anything's possible, but I find it hard to believe he was driving recklessly, knowing he had guns in the car and everything else, although he was allowed to have those weapons. That said, now, because he's famous and wealthy, I think Crawford should treat his personal safety seriously. That was a warning shot. Tighten up security, document everything, demand a transparent investigation and legal counsel, and consider possibly relocating from Omaha. Because I personally think he should do a threat assessment. But if it was me, I'd get out of there. You see, he's got to change the way he moves, man. You got to do it. You can't stay out there in the area where you have cops who know who you are, but are going to pull a gun on you, brandishing the weapon with the finger on the trigger. The finger on the trigger. Gun out. Off safety. So I know some people are saying, nah, man, get rid of make the law enforcement move out of Omaha. Those bad cops. Crawford can stay. Hold your horses. Let's stop taking it to the stupid. Crawford needs a bounce. This man just made 8 figures to fight Canelo. He already has dough. Plus that 8 figures ain't doing nothing but just boost his net worth. You know what I'm saying? And it's also showing that it's boosting his problems too. Now, I just think we need to try to break this shit down in a clear, practical paragraph or paragraphs. So I think people can kind of just understand what my mind is. You know what I'm saying? But when I think about it, someone said Crawford going through a humiliation ritual. And I was like, damn, that could be the case. They kind of did Mayweather that way, but Mayweather and whatever happened with the mother of his children, they really made sure, man, to publicly lynch him, didn't they? Every athlete, if you give him an inch, they'll take a mile. Crawford didn't seem to do anything but give him success and try to be a good example out there in Omaha. But they definitely did their I would say, mission accomplished. They humiliated this man on his birthday and the day where he was awarded the keys to the damn city for his parade, victory parade, and they humiliated that man. But celebrities and elite athletes like Terence Crawford carry a symbolic value. Gotta understand Terence Crawford, man. That man symbolizes success. The kind of success not too many people in Omaha, Nebraska will ever achieve. You know what I'm saying? He's got the money, he's got the status, he's got the influence. That makes Crawford, that makes other celebrities targets for a kind of social one-upmanship. Resentment or performing, let me see, for resentment and performative policing. Unwarranted. This is what happens to guys like Crawford. Humiliation makes them targets, man. And just these rituals that they do to these guys. Public stops. Theatrical questioning. Viral videos. That shit works on several levels, man. It's an attempt for the secret society to remind the public and remind these athletes who controls everyday life. And in doing so, they deflate an individuals, just like in the boxing ring where Crawford did to Canelo and beat him down. Well, the secret society out here, man, showing Crawford who controls everyday life. And like Crawford did Canelo in that ring, outside the ring, they are destroying and taking away Crawford's aura of invincibility. And they feed attention cycles. Now, in some communities and institutions, there's also a tribal element. When someone from the neighborhood, like Crawford, from the block, they become famous. All resentments and rivalries can surface. None of that justifies abuse, but it explains why public figures, especially a guy like Crawford, a black athlete from working class backgrounds, sometimes find themselves on the receiving end of high drama encounters. Now, I'm going to say this until I'm blue in the face. Crawford, to me, I know he has a lot. He got his roots in Omaha. I just think he needs to go. They're going to continue to humiliate this man. You watch. This is just the beginning. Could you imagine? I'm trying to think about me and where I grew up. And even me now, with my lifestyle, if I was back living out there and all the people who I came up with, you know what I mean? From kids to adulthood, right? If they knew that, how I was living. Some people would be sour. They got natural haters, crab in the barrels. You know what I mean? I can only imagine the shit going on with Crawford, especially in a little Omaha, Nebraska. Everybody knows everybody. Some of these guys who are running around who could really make Crawford miserable probably went to school with him. And now this is their way to fuck with him. Because he carries a symbolic value now. And that's screwed up, man. And you look at what happened to police. They're talking about police single out famous athletes. Crawford, I don't, if he didn't know, he should know now. He's not normal. Crawford is not just a famous athlete. Crawford is being recognized globally now. He got to move with security. He can't, even moving with his old friends and shit like that. That shit this weekend, if in fact they were just riding and enjoying themselves and feeling good and had a good day and had guns in the car, he got to make a change. Probably should have security escorting them to point A to point B. No more driving yourself. Like, you got to fucking really wake up. You got all the millions and millions and millions of dollars. Use the money to fucking protect yourself. I understand Mike Tyson, he'll tell you, you gotta, if you go out in public, the people should want to come to you. You should go to the people, not for you, people to want to hurt you, you run from the people. Yeah, Mike Tyson Not everybody can be you, buddy. Not everybody can be Muhammad Ali. And for Terence Crawford in Omaha, I thought he had it like that. And maybe he does amongst the common people. But I just tell you, this is a bad, bad sign, man. I just see something out there in Omaha escalating. He's a public figure, something that should be routine. Could go bad, man. First visibility offers me overreact because the situation is high profile. Not just officers. We're talking about just the fucking haters out there. The crabs in that barrel who want to pull this man down. Second, you talk about perceived risk. A lot of these police officers, man, I respect what they do. You know what I'm saying? But I'm telling you, they got some. Don Knotts, shake his gun in the West. Scary. Don't become a police officer if you're fucking afraid of getting hurt, getting shot, of a confrontation. Don't become a fireman if you're afraid of fucking fire. Don't join the military if you know that you don't want to deploy. Don't go in there and go to medical school to become an open heart surgeon and you don't like fucking blood. What are we doing here? They're going to interpret anything that a guy like Crawford, with his status, anything they do that makes them uncomfortable, or they're just going to perceive that shit as a threat. He already has a menacing look about him. He already is a bit intimidating because he likes to fight. He has an aggressive personality. He's just showed you that, for all these years you watch him on TV, knocking people out and shit. He just beat Canelo, a man who's supposed to be invincible, at 168. And now you pull him over. You think the cop is out there like, oh, this is just Terence Crawford. He's a nice guy. No, you look at him, you're like, oh shit, it's the champ. Oh shit, is there a gun in the car? Especially now, a precedence has been set. Anytime Crawford's rolling around, I am telling you, man, if he happens to get pulled over, he better cover his ass and make sure that the guns are put away. He discloses that up front. He's got to really change the way he does business because it's a good learning experience for him. But unfortunately, I just think he's going to become an expert in dealing with bullshit because I think this is just the start. I really do. Cops drawing guns on this man. Everybody get out. Crawford like, are you serious? It's just biased decision making, man, from these fucking people in these positions. Implicit bias and stereotypes can cause these officers, and not just officers, just the people who grew up around Crawford, people who see him, even if they don't know him. They can just assume that Crawford is a risk to them somehow. And I'm going to tell you, when there's a black man involved, even if he's famous, it's that the shit they deal with, man. I'm not saying that other people, other races don't deal with it, but in particular, we're talking about Crawford. And we're all adults here. We know when it comes to a black man, more of a chance of something fucked up happening to them, you know what I mean? So I just think that's a result of poor training for a lot of these people in those positions where they can really make somebody miserable. And I just think for Crawford, he needs to practice covering his ass because these people like law enforcement, they're practicing covering their ass too. And that's why you'll see them with overly aggressive tactics because they know how to cover their ass. Fortunately, it seems like he has some people in very high positions that are on his side. They kind of know his temperament, know his style, know the way he does business. Crawford's not looking for any problems, you know what I'm saying? But the bottom line is when you think about the lack of cultural training and shit amongst cops and different people, that can kind of explain how a stop with a guy like Crawford could become pretty intense, you know? But my thing with the secret society, look, that's my theory on all this bullshit, you know? I think you look at Terence Crawford, he beat Canelo. It makes you wonder who was betting money and lost money. You know what I'm saying? Who was betting money for Canelo to whip Crawford's ass, and Crawford went in there and did the business? But some would tell me when it comes to my secret society theory, they would say, yo, hold your horses, hood champion, you're taking it to the stupid. Then I would, of course, cross-examine them and say, no, you hold your horses. They say that it's unlikely that there's a secret society out to get Crawford. I just think, for me, the secret society explanation, some people say it's just emotionally satisfying because, it kind of makes sense of randomness and injustice. Okay, maybe so. But it's not an extra, it's not, I don't think it requires extraordinary evidence. Depending on our experiences, you know what I'm saying? Some people are going to agree with me, some people aren't. Some people are going to say, oh, he's full of shit. Others are going to say, nope, you can see writings on the wall. There's so much more to what's going on out there with Crawford. That shouldn't have happened to him in Omaha. It shouldn't have happened to him. And I know some people say, all right, here you go, hood champion, with the conspiracy claims. You need verifiable links, verifiable information. No, I don't, man. We're just having a conversation, you know what I'm saying? Because the documented communications, the coordinated orders, any prior incidents showing a pattern by a guy like Terence Crawford or any other athlete, let me tell you something. You ain't going to find that shit. When the secret society decides to make an athlete miserable or make Terence Crawford miserable, you're not going to find all that shit. You're not going to find official disclosures. They don't have that shit readily available and accessible to anyone. Most of the time, it's just a conversation. This is the direction things are going to go. But I do think, man, that if the fly on the wall could talk, we can get some of these things that I throw out there that I'm trying to get to stick to the wall. We can get some of these things and explanations that can be traceable. As far as the officers. Was it an error? Was it not? Was it some kind of training failure or not? You know what I'm saying? Did this have anything to do with Crawford and where he's reached in the sport of boxing? All I'm saying is, for me, I don't need to have solid evidence showing coordination or showing anything among powerful figures specifically aiming to harass Crawford. I'm telling you from experience. I recognize the signs when something ain't right. I may not be smarter than a fifth grader, but I got common goddamn sense. And I think it's more responsible to assume the problem is institutional and not just individual misconduct. I think this shit you see with Crawford could be more of a global secret plot to bring him down. He wasn't having these kind of problems, was he? All these years of being a professional boxer, he wasn't out there getting harassed by no cops. There was no cops pulling no guns on him. Finger on the trigger. It's crazy. Especially for no damn traffic violation, supposedly driving reckless. Somebody said, well, Crawford probably targeted because he was probably drinking or they had drugs in the car. Yo, dummy. The man doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, doesn't do drugs. Nobody in the car had any shit like that on him. I don't think anybody who's in his immediate circle does that shit. But it doesn't matter. He doesn't do it. And there was nothing in the car. Crawford's sober. Crawford's disciplined. You know what I mean? He doesn't make a public figure. He knows as a public figure that doesn't make him immune to anything. But he's definitely not going to give anyone a reason to target him. Matter of fact, if he was doing that kind of bullshit, matter of fact, the fact that he doesn't do that probably makes him more visible, man. You know what I'm saying? But I just think this thing about him being out and about in public spaces at late night or just riding around, which he doesn't do this, which is smart. He doesn't have a lot of high-end vehicles. He has a truck. He lives simple. But I hope he doesn't go out here and start to get caught up with the nightlife more, which he's not that guy. He's a family man. Getting the high-end vehicles and all that. I don't think he needs to do that. And even though I think he needs to have security around him, that can attract more attention. You know what I'm saying? So, and that can make people in the community more resentful. So he got to be careful on what he's doing moving forward, because there are people in the community who may single him out for that shit. He hasn't done it before. It sounds like they don't have that kind of shit out there in Omaha. So if he does that, now all of a sudden he has more unwanted attention on himself. But the fact that he doesn't use substances, that doesn't explain the stop. You know what I mean? The stop and the shit they did to Crawford explained by officers. And it could have something to do with just bias, or whatever, but you just can't make me believe that on this night in particular, they just happened to haphazardly pull over Crawford and come up with this bullshit excuse on why they pulled him over. You know what I'm saying? They did not have a justification. It's crazy. So, I don't know. Should Crawford move out of Omaha or just get security? I think the short answer is he needs to immediately strengthen his security. And I just think what happened there was a formal threat to Crawford's peace of mind. And right now it's just at him. What's going to happen next? It's the other thing people don't think about. What about his family? What about his kids? Who's going to target his kids now? Who's going to target his family? You know what I'm saying? This man is the definition of Wu-Tang cream, cha-ching ching, dollar bill, y'all. He's got 7 kids. He got a lot of family. Ain't nothing for somebody to go kidnap one of his third cousins or somebody in the family who's still out there meddling in bullshit. It happens all the time, man. Crazy. But, even if he moved out, that shit could still happen. So, I don't know. But I think there should be some layered steps to protect him. You know what I'm saying? Got to make sure you got a legal team on point. Got the documentation. Make sure you got some public transparency. Some security upgrades to Terence Crawford, man. Need to have the proper tech. He needs to have dash cams, interior cameras. Maybe the security team wearing body cameras for security. Like, they really got to figure it out. Got to have safe routines. The way you're traveling, the things you're doing. Don't take the same routes. Got to, continue working on community relations and always try to be risk averse and have threat assessments. Like, these are things that Crawford needs to be doing now, man. And it's crazy that, how messed up it is? I'm not even doing videos joking about Crawford and Canelo and, stirring the pot and just keeping this shit going. Like, we're sitting here really we're not talking about Terence Crawford and what all he accomplished in boxing anymore. And we're talking about Crawford being risk averse, making threat assessments. That is crazy. Somebody pointed out, they said Canelo, when he's in Mexico at home, they said Canelo got his shit locked down with security and this and that. They said Canelo don't mess around out there. He loved Mexico, the people love him, but still Canelo understands. I'm not normal. He still sees himself as Canelo. He doesn't see himself as above anyone. He still has the poor man's mentality. He knows what it's like. Manny Pacquiao knows what it's like. See, but let me tell you the difference. If someone were to kidnap Canelo in Mexico and harm him, or kidnap someone in his family and harm them, or someone were to kidnap Manny Pacquiao and harm him, or someone in his family and harm him, the people who lived, the police and the people, but if the people got to the individual first, the people would kill him. Beat him, chop him up, set him on fire. They do some extreme shit. Canelo's seen as a national treasure. Manny Pacquiao, the same thing. Can't nobody come and harm Manny Pacquiao or any of his family members out there in the Philippines, because once they find out who it is, they're going to make an example out of him, and it's going to be a public execution. With Terence Crawford, I don't think he has that luxury, because the reality is Terence Crawford ain't loved in this country. I'm thinking he's loved in Omaha. He may not even be loved in Omaha. Maybe loved by some, resented by many. I don't know. But I think he should start moving with security. He's got to. Even going to these sporting events with his kids. I ain't from Omaha. I don't know how it is, but I think no place is totally risk-free. Risk-free. A guy like Crawford, man, and you look at his profile, you look at the kind of money that this guy has, makes him a target, man. And don't get me wrong, he's always had money. And someone say, well, you know, all of a sudden you're saying he's a target. Maybe he's always been a target. But maybe now there's so many eyes on him. There's so much attention. There's so much chaos and different things going around. You know what I'm saying? And maybe now this is the opportunity to strike and really make him miserable. But I just think remaining in one's community, like Omaha, Nebraska, I think it has emotional, cultural, and humanitarian value, which is understandable. Many athletes choose to stay because they owe their success to that place, and you know, they want to help it. But I just think the right approach is a risk-based approach. Keep strong personal security and legal defenses, force transparency and accountability. That way when you have different incidents that happen to you, you know, you got your ducks in a row. And I just think you need to make relocation decisions based on a, you know, thorough threat assessment rather than fear alone. So what is the threat to Terence Crawford? I don't know, but I'll tell you this. He almost got shot this weekend and killed, didn't he? So as far as the threat assessment, I think we already got the answer on that shit. And it wasn't by Willie from the goddamn local juke joint. By Officer Alvarez. Now, I don't know if that was the officer's name, but I made a joke. Shit is bad. That shit really, really bothered me, man, that man had to go through that. Really, really awful that he had to go through that, man. But anyway, we'll see what happens. We're gonna see if these cops keep making mistakes. Overzealous policing, creating public spectacles, which is what they created. We're gonna find out. I wonder, you know, what should and could Crawford do next? What should his team? What should they do next? I don't know. If we were to try to put together a checklist, maybe he needs to make sure he has some of these people on speed dial. Civil rights, criminal defense attorney now, and try to make sure if he's going through anything, do like what they did, record it, try to preserve the evidence. Just be ready to demand body cam footage and any video surveillance from any local businesses where different incidents take place. And just a lot of things he needs to do, man. But you would think the way a guy like him has built community and political allies out there in Omaha, Nebraska, that he wouldn't be going through this crap. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I personally think he was targeted. I do. I think they put him through a humiliation ritual just to let him know who really runs shit. That's just how I feel. You know what I'm saying? Look what happened to Terence Crawford. Shit was frightening. Could have ended much worse. You know what I'm saying? It's it's bad. And I know some people say, yo, man, this conspiracy theory shit you talking about, that's just for clicks. No, it's not. No, it's not. You know what would be for clicks? If nothing like this happened to Crawford. I said, you know what? What if Crawford would have gotten pulled over on the day of his victory parade and his birthday, and they pulled guns on him and had their hand on the trigger and the safety off? Then that goes beyond a conversation. That's just, all right, now you're taking it too far. No, that shit happened to him, so get out of here about I'm just doing shit for clicks. If you're going to tell me that, go on everybody else's channel who's talking about Terence Crawford. Ain't no nothing for clicks here. They treated Crawford like what he is in their eyes. Nothing. And that is horrible. And for that reason, I think he should tighten his security immediately. Maybe security is the first line of defense against these damn cops, where they see him, security detail, the security detail can interact with the cops, engage the cops, and before they can go directly at them and, have their guns out with the safety off and finger on the effing trigger. So, my honest assessment about him, man, I just think the most realistic interpretation of what happened to Terence Crawford is this was just a police encounter that the police chose to escalate and prove to Crawford that who really ran the show, who really is a superstar, who really is a top dog. It ain't him. He may have been given the key to the city, but they just showed him we could take that shit back from you. You're nobody. You're a little bud to us. You're not no face of boxing, no global icon to us. You're just a nobody, the little kid who out there by the goddamn juke joint that was stirring up shit and getting in trouble in the hood. It's all you are, it's all you'll ever be here. Because we don't see you as any different. And that's why Crawford needs to go somewhere where people, he maybe need to start over fresh, where people see him and receive him as what he is today. He's not that same little knucklehead child. This man almost 40 years old. Disciplined, respectful, reliable fighter, athlete, businessman. But some people still want to see you as what you were back in the day in elementary school, junior high school, high school. Nobody want to see you as an adult and what you are today. And they can pull you back into bullshit. And the thing about Crawford don't seem to be the guy who can take a deep breath and walk away. Because, the part of you dies when you don't want to deal with the consequences of proving to somebody that I'm better than you. I'll whip your ass. I'll go a step further than you. That shows maturity. But when you walk away from that, it takes a pound of flesh out of you. I'm telling you from experience. It got to a certain point where it's like, all right, I can't be this way. And the consequences were too severe, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes you get these fools who want to say something. And you just have to make a decision. Now, of course, if they ever, someone put their hands on you or something, then, it's over for that person. But when the talking and all that, Crawford doesn't seem to be a guy who can handle somebody calling him like, yeah, you a F and B word, you a this. I'll knock you out, I'll do this. Seems like Crawford will lose his cool. So he gotta be very, very, very careful, man. And just understand, you got to avoid certain areas, certain people, certain situations. And I just think the best thing for him is getting the hell out of Omaha, Nebraska, man. You know what I'm saying? Let me tell you something. His fame has increased and his visibility has increased. And it's not that his accessibility has increased. He's always been accessible. But when your fame increases, your visibility increases, your accessibility should decrease. And I think Crawford needs to understand that. You don't become more accessible. Not out there when you got the cops who don't have good intentions towards you. Not at all, man. Anyway, y'all keep cool. I wish Terence Crawford the best of luck, man. I know I really don't have any jokes. I'm really bothered by that. Like, that shit really bothers me. Crazy. Man added the biggest scalp of his career to his resume. And the police were trying to take Crawford's scalp. Isn't that some shit? Man, y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.